From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Today, Minneapolis is in mourning, the day after a fatal attack on a Catholic church.
I can tell you there's absolutely no question that this shooter intended to terrorize those children, those parishioners, the members of the school staff that were in that building, as well as their parents and the larger community here.
But in the face of terror, there are stories of bravery.
I think there's a lot of maybe unrecognized heroes in this event, along with the children that were protecting other children, which is really amazing to hear about.
And a reminder, God is always with us.
To all of the young children who were there for Mass today, I hope that our prayers this evening might give them a sense that they are not alone.
I'm Tara Mergener, and we begin our program on the Feast of St. Augustine with the latest of what we are learning one day after the tragedy at Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis. The White House blames a deranged evil monster for the horrible tragedy at a Catholic school mass in Minneapolis. Wednesday's attack left 2 students dead and 17 other people injured. Police are now investigating the case as an act of domestic terrorism.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt begins the White House briefing with sympathy for the victims of the shooting.
As a parent myself, there are no words to describe just the heartbreak that these families must be enduring, which is why the President and the First Lady have encouraged everyone to continue to pray for these families and these victims.
The FBI quickly labeled the shooting a hate crime against Catholics. The White House also pushed back against a former Biden press secretary who wrote that prayer is not enough.
I saw the comments of my predecessor, Ms. Psaki, and frankly, I think they're incredibly insensitive and disrespectful to the tens of millions of Americans of faith across this country who believe in the power of prayer.
During a trip to nearby La Crosse, Wisconsin, Vice President J.D. Vance also addressed the violence.
And to every person who protected a friend, to every first responder, to every paramedic who made it so the death toll wasn't higher, we love you, we're proud of you, and we'll never forget the great American spirit that you showed yesterday.
White House border czar Tom Homan tells EWTN the shooting is heartbreaking.
I made no qualms at all. I'm a lifelong Catholic, and I actually went to Catholic school, and it was terrible. What happened was terrible.
And after reflecting for a moment, Homan spoke about the victims.
I hope y'all hit your knees last night and said a prayer for those children and their families. I mean, it's a terrible, terrible thing, and just terrible.
In the wake of the shooting, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is increasing security at schools and religious sites. This comes as a report in EWTN's National Catholic Register says the state's Catholic bishops made repeated appeals for the same level of protection that public schools receive. Governor Tim Walz and the state legislature declined to act on those requests. And for more, we turn to Ken Trump, school safety expert and consultant. Dr. Trump, thanks for your time and the important work you do. Overall, do you think there's enough security for Catholic or faith-based schools or even public schools? And if not, what do you want to see?
Thanks for having me with you, Tara. I'm a Catholic member of the parish here and have children who went through Catholic schools. So while all of the school shootings touched me personally, this one really hit home. And actually, having trained Catholic schools on emergency planning and security issues, one of the first tabletop scenarios that I put out was, what if you're in an all-school mass? What considerations do you have when you have hundreds of kids, family, plus parishioners and people coming in from outside? And those are considerations that we typically don't want to think about, that we struggle in thinking about, and that we may hesitate thinking about, but we need to have conversations with. How do you lock down if you're in that setting? I spent 10 minutes listening to teachers and staff talk at one school just about how do we lock the doors? Can we lock the doors? Are there locks on the doors? Because many of our churches are physically connected with schools in the same structure or with a walkthrough. How do you let people come in during that time when you're keeping other people out through visitor management? Who do you let in? If you know the regular parishioners and people in the community, what if a stranger shows up? Do you let them in with kids? These are conversations that we need to have. There's the physical security piece, the hardware technology, the products, but really it comes down to the people end of things with planning, training, and having a security culture like the now retired principal from my kids' school, who retired earlier this year, was known as the safety queen. She was always thinking safety, and it paid off in many cases during her years as a very successful school leader.
And there are definitely many unique challenges in this setting, and many Catholic schools across the country are set to hold Mass for the start of the school year. Do you have any advice or best practices on ways to keep everyone safe?
Have these conversations with your school's safety team or crisis team. Go through what-if scenarios. We want people aware and prepared but not scared. We have many things that help us be a safe Catholic school community because of the connectedness, the relationships, the faith, the fact of knowing one another. The key thing is let's get on the prevention side of things, the social, emotional, mental health supports for kids, knowing your kids, being able to supervise, actively engage, and we do a great job of that. We have to remember that all schools, Catholic and otherwise, do many positive things that contribute to safety of their children. We just want to think a little bit more focused on the what-if scenarios. Don't worry about remembering an 80, 100-page emergency plan that states may send out in a template, but train your staff on active supervision, situational awareness, being fully aware of what's going on. What happens if you see something coming in your area while you have kids out on the playground at recess? How do you get back in quickly? What building do you go to? Can you get in the locked doors? Looking for abnormalities and patterns, things that aren't normal. Educators are great at that. Car doesn't belong, a stranger on campus, somebody gives them a nervous feel. And then how to make cognitive decisions under stress. Those are the things that we're talking about, that heightened awareness and having some shared mental models, some common understanding, so everyone from the custodian to the school principal, teachers, support staff, school secretaries, lunch personnel know what to do and have had talked about that before a potentially threatening situation.
Yeah, definitely a checklist worth having. And very quickly, we're running out of time. For kids who might be uneasy, and I'm sure a lot of them are, they're returning to church or to school Mass. Is there something you can say that's going to calm their fears?
Absolutely have age and developmentally appropriate conversations with your kids. Let your kids know as parents and as educators that you are there. If they see something, say something, train people how to do something, and make sure that kids have those open lines of communications and engage them to ask them what would make their school safer because they know best.
Great advice. Well, Ken Trump, school safety expert, thanks for being with us. The information is so valuable.
Thank you, and God bless.
God bless. The shooting at Annunciation Catholic Church is drawing a reaction from U.S. lawmakers. For both Minnesota's Democratic senators, the tragedy hits close to home. Amy Klobuchar says a former staffer's young children were in the church attending Mass when that gunfire broke out. EWTN's Montse Alvarado has more.
There were 3 kids from this one family, but she witnessed 2 of her friends get shot, one in the stomach, one in the neck. The kids were crawling under the pews, and then she ran out, and she was the one that told the dad of one of the kids that his child had been shot.
Senator Tina Smith says she lives nearby and knows the school well.
In April earlier this year, a group of Annunciation students came to visit me on Capitol Hill. So it's a school that's very engaged in the community and very connected to the neighborhood.
Minnesota Congressman Pete Stauber, a Catholic, posted this statement after hearing about the shooting. I'm heartbroken by the horrific news coming out of Minneapolis. I'm praying for the kids, parents, and teachers at Annunciation Catholic School. Some Republicans say Congress can stop school shootings.
The right thing to do would be for Congress to put into action legislation and vote to end gun-free school zones.
Democrats say the shooting points to the need for gun control.
Republicans in the House and the Senate are actively trying to loosen our gun laws. right now. They're trying to ram a provision through the Senate as we speak that would take tens of thousands of seriously mentally ill people with schizophrenia, off the list of those who are prohibited from buying weapons.
Republicans have introduced several bills that would redefine gun ownership rules and eligibility, but those would require Democrat support in the Senate in order to pass. Democrats are likely to continue pressing for tighter gun laws when lawmakers return to Capitol Hill next week.
And we are also learning more about the gunman tonight. The FBI says he left many anti-Catholic and anti-religious messages, both in a so-called manifesto and in writing on his weapons. He also expressed a hatred toward Jewish people. Police say the shooter was a 23-year-old biological man who identified as a woman. He died at the scene by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. In one video posted to social media, the shooter allegedly mocked Christ and revealed messages, including one that said, "Where's your God now?" And for more, I want to bring in Jason Everett. He is the founder of Chastity Project and author of the book Male, Female, Other, a Catholic Guide to Understanding Gender. Thanks for joining us, Jason. Federal officials have identified the shooter as transgender. First of all, let's start with what that means.
Yeah, well, transgender is an idea popularized beginning in the 1950s that your actual identity can be something other than your biological sex. Now, the word gender wasn't even used in any medical literature prior to the mid-1950s, but it is at odds, obviously, with Catholic anthropology that our body isn't something you have, like you have a pair of jeans, like your body is you. And when you untether your identity from your body, what will it attach to? Well, your personality, but there are as many personalities as there are persons, and you will literally end up with an endless spectrum of these gender identities.
How do you address it from a Catholic perspective?
Well, I think in light of the recent tragedy, I think the first thing I think we need to point out is that most people who do experience gender dysphoria would never commit an atrocity like this. And most people who have committed school shootings do not identify as trans. And so I think it's careful that we at least explain that so as to not stir up animosity amongst young people who might be struggling with their sense of sexual identity. But I think the real core issue we have to look at is, are people who are experiencing gender dysphoria receiving the mental health services that they need? And I think it's an unequivocal answer of no, they're not. Because the modern idea is that we need to give gender affirmative care, which means that, well, if you don't feel at home in your own body, then, your feelings aren't the problem. Your body is the problem. And so what's been introduced is what's called the Dutch protocol, that we should give these people first social transitioning, and then followed by puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgery, and then they'll feel at home in their own body. But people who go through this, within about 8 to 10 years, their suicide rate climbs to 19 times higher than the general population. And so it's not working. We're actually contributing to a mental illness instead of actually treating it. We're depriving these young people of opportunities and strategies to learn how to live in their bodies. And instead of that, we're giving them hormones and telling them that they can hurt their body in order to be their authentic selves.
Jason, we know police are still searching for a motive. Preliminary details paint the shooter as someone with an inclination for violence, mainly through videos on the internet, which have since been taken down. But one media outlet is reporting the shooter confessed on video of being, quote, tired of being trans and wished he never had brainwashed himself. In your opinion, could any part of his transgender identity play into this tragedy at all? Obviously, we don't want to speculate, but if you give us some general thoughts.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to gender dysphoria, what psychologists say is that it's typically one point in a whole constellation of other mental health issues. For example, European Journal of Psychology or Psychiatry said that 42% of people who identify as trans meet the criterion for an autism diagnosis. But it's not just autism. Oftentimes there's other things at play, such as major depressive disorder, a lot of bullying, social distress and isolation, borderline personality, all kinds of things could be going on, a whole stew of issues. And if they're being told, well, hey, you just need to, change your outfit or change your name and you'll feel at home in your own body, as I said, it's depriving the young people to have opportunities to live in their bodies.
Clearly a lot of complex issues overall with this. The data overall is pretty startling with this issue as well. Jason Everett, thank you so much. We do appreciate your perspective.
Thanks for having me on.
And we have a lot more still to come on EWTN News Nightly. Please stay with us. Also new tonight, the Trump administration defends its decision to fire the head of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Her lawyer's statement made it abundantly clear themselves that she was not aligned with the president's mission to make America healthy again. And the secretary asked her to resign. She said she would, and then she said she wouldn't, so the president fired her, which he has every right to do.
Susan Monterez just took over the CDC 1 month ago and quickly criticized what she saw as misinformation about vaccines. Her firing also led several other CDC leaders to resign. The White House says her replacement will be announced soon. Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook has filed suit against the Trump administration. It's an effort to overturn the president's attempt to remove her from that post. Trump posted a letter on Truth Social on Monday saying that Cook was fired because of allegations of mortgage fraud. Cook has not been charged with any wrongdoing. In Hong Kong, the national security trial of pro-democracy newspaper publisher Jimmy Lai wraps up after nearly 160 days in court. Lai, a Catholic, is accused of violating the Beijing-backed national security law. His defense team clashed frequently with judges, insisting the charges are politically motivated. A verdict is expected in the coming weeks or months, and the case is being watched closely as a major test of press freedom in Hong Kong. And now to Ukraine, where residents are mourning loved ones after a massive Russian strike on Kiev. It is the first major assault since President Trump met with Russian President Putin in Alaska earlier this month. At least 19 people are confirmed dead and 48 others wounded. Ukrainian President Zelensky says the Kremlin is choosing weapons instead of negotiations. The EU mission in Kiev and the British Council's office were damaged in the attack. Kiev is calling for an emergency UN Security Council meeting as the Ukrainian delegation prepares for talks tomorrow with the Trump administration. Russia says it targeted Ukraine's military sites using long-range weapons. And now to the Middle East. The UK, France, and Germany are seeking to reimpose sanctions on Tehran. The news caused Iran's currency to reach a near-record low. The snapback process started over Iran's nuclear program would freeze Iranian assets and stop all arms sales with Tehran. This comes as Israel continues to strike Gaza, furthering their offensive to occupy the Strip. During his weekly address to pilgrims, Pope Leo again called for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza and the release of all Israeli hostages. Well, up next on EWTN News Nightly, a seeker of truth, how one saint's journey inspires even Pope Leo. Plus, the faithful in New Orleans are preparing to mark 20 years since that deadly Hurricane Katrina. We have the details. Restless until he found God, St. Augustine shows seekers of truth that no worldly pursuit can satisfy the deepest longings of the heart. As we celebrate his feast today, EWTN Vatican journalist Benedict Settergren tells us more about this important saint's journey to the faith and how he continues to inspire faithful, even Pope Leo.
St. Augustine is one of Christianity's greatest saints and voices, but his path to faith was anything but a straight line. The Church Father's well-known conversion was the fruit of his mother St. Monica's tireless prayers after many years of searching for fulfillment in pleasure, ambition, and false philosophies.
The conversion of St. Augustine, as he himself acknowledges in the Confessions, is certainly the work of God, of God's grace. Yet, Augustine says it is also the fruit of the prayers and tears that were never lacking in the life of Monica. And Augustine, as an older man and a bishop, would recall this episode of his life, and it would always be something that pierced his heart with sorrow, having betrayed the trust of this woman. But Monica never gave up.
The Basilica of St. Augustine in Rome, like all churches dedicated to him, stands as a witness to the saint's enduring importance and a reminder that it is never too late to turn to God. To this day, St. Augustine's teachings on divine grace, the sacraments, and the life of the soul continue to guide the faithful, shape Catholic theology, and inspire devotion throughout the world. Pope Leo is one particularly devoted follower who from the very day of his election has embraced and proclaimed his identity as a son of St. Augustine.
Sono
un figlio di Sant'Agostino, Agostiniano.
And not refrain from presenting him as a model of faith for all, including young people.
St. Augustine wrote, "You stir us to take pleasure in praising you, because you have made us for yourself, and our heart is restless until it rests in you. Lord, I would seek you, and calling upon you is an act of believing in you."
The Pope's Augustinian formation and the spirituality of the order are evident in his teachings and addresses.
Stiamo ascoltando diversi discorsi del Papa e spesso noi
We are listening to various addresses of the Pope, and we often find quotations from Augustine. But it is not simply a matter of inserting Augustine's words into his speeches. The Pope also wants to help us understand, we could say, a vision of the Church and a testimony of faith that comes through Augustine's teaching.
di fede che passa attraverso l'insegnamento di Agostino.
Inspired by the example and work of St. Augustine, Pope Leo continues to shepherd and guide the Church so it can better offer a witness of faith in the modern world. In Rome, Benedictia de Grian, EWTN News Nightly.
As we head toward the 20th anniversary of the deadly Hurricane Katrina, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops is asking the faithful to remember those lives lost and the families who were impacted forever. Around 1,400 people died in that storm, and its 100 to 140-mile-per-hour winds. 200,000 homes flooded, and many people who relocated to safer locations never returned. The city's St. Louis Cathedral hosted an interfaith service today. Tomorrow is a Mass at Our Lady of Prompt Succor, a beloved shrine just a few miles outside the city. EWTN's Catherine Hadro recently spoke with a deacon in New Orleans for more information on the Mass and life after Katrina.
For more, we turn now to Deacon Craig Tafaro from the Archdiocese of New Orleans. Deacon, thank you so much for joining us. First off, be assured of our prayers for the entire Archdiocese this week. What do you remember about Hurricane Katrina, and especially how it impacted Our Lady of Lourdes Church, your home parish, which is about 13 miles outside of New Orleans?
Well, in the parish of St. Bernard, the civil parish of St. Bernard, we were considered to be ground zero, and it really was quite a surreal experience because as I recall, the devastation happened in phases, so to speak. As the winds came through and we thought we were going to make it, then really the crux of the damage started as levees broke and water started to build up. Really, in a matter of minutes, we went from having virtually no water to multiple feet of water until it actually settled at about 15 feet in most areas.
And tell us about your role in Hurricane Katrina. I understand your background is as a psychologist. Is that right? How did the hurricane impact the city and the faithful from that psychological standpoint?
Well, the main impact was there were no safety nets for so many families because so many members of St. Bernard Parish and the region as a whole really depended on each other and living in a matter of miles from each other. And when the region as a whole was devastated, we really had nowhere to turn. And so as I was on the ground, my own family would, after 3 days, was trying to reach us and ask, okay, what is the situation? And when we would say there's nothing unimpacted, everything has been damaged, people couldn't wrap their heads around that an entire community in 1 day's time went from completely operational to completely devastated.
Wow. Can you share that experience 20 years ago? Did that lead you to grow even more deeply into your faith and ultimately to become a permanent deacon?
Catherine, I'll tell you one of the particular memories, because 20 years later, we all have our adjustments and how we remember things. But one of the particular aspects of this entire situation was the night of the storm. The water had come in. We had gone out into the community in boats and skiffs and anything that we could get our hands on to do search and rescue. And we're on top of the government building that night. No electricity, obviously, no sounds, completely dark. And it was one of the most beautiful skies that I've ever seen. And that moment really resonated for me because it was, in my own journey, a confirmation that our Lord and our God is bigger than it all, and that He was showing us there is great beauty to be achieved here if we were just to rely on Him and not ourselves.
Wow, well said. And finally, Deacon, tell us more about Friday's Mass at Our Lady of Prompt Succor, and why did the Archdiocese choose that specific location?
Well, as I said, ground zero in St. Bernard Parish and Our Lady of Prompt Succor, although it was one of the highest ridges in the parish, still had water. I remember the water coming up just to the feet of the statue of our Blessed Mother and went no further. So it's the central location of our faith and our worship within our community. The Archbishop Gregory Amen has been so generous to come down and celebrate this Mass. And it really is a moment in time to say, we have gotten through some of the most difficult times, and it's time to put that into perspective, that no challenge in our lifetime and no challenge that we face here is greater than the love and the mercy that God will offer. And that's the message that we want to send on Friday's Mass, is that Katrina was a difficult moment, but the love of the Lord is so much greater.
The resilience is quite the testament. Deacon Craig Tafaro from the Archdiocese of New Orleans, thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. God bless.
We thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Tara Mergener. Good night and God bless.